Hello and welcome to a new episode of Other Record Labels. I'm your host, Scott Orr, where we talk about the art and culture of running an independent record label. And today I want to give you some advice on how you can get your artists' releases, how your label's releases into local record stores. We did an episode just last week. If you haven't heard it, it's one of our Industry Insider episodes where I interviewed the owner of an independent record store here in my town. And we talked all about how record labels can better serve record stores and how record stores can help out local indie record labels. So go back and listen to that if you haven't already. What I want to tackle today is some of my takeaways from that conversation. Now, I understand that there's some labels and some listeners of this podcast and of these videos who aren't necessarily in the boat where you need to deal with your independent record store, but this is advice that would be very helpful for very small labels as well as some DIY musicians. Now, I know some of you may have physical distribution deals, good for you. But today I want to talk about that concept of walking down to your local record store. Maybe you live in a city that has lots of them. And so this is something that you're going to do, taking your records and asking the local record store if they'll carry them in stock. It's something I've done before many times. It can be awkward, but I've got a couple things that I'm going to help, that I hope will help smooth this process over a little bit. The first thing, and this came from my interview with Brad just a couple of weeks ago, is to have a vision. That's really important, is to not assume that they're a record store. All you have to do is bring by the records and it's a big enough accomplishment that you're local and that you've made a record and that now their responsibility is to stock it. That's not the case. It's your responsibility to do the research, to do the work. If you live in a city, chances are there's lots of independent record stores in that city. You want to go to each store and check out their demographic, visit them, see what they sell, what type of inventory do they carry, do they specialize in a certain genre? So make sure you do your research ahead of time and honestly pitch yourself and pitch your label, assuming that they don't legally have to carry your records, but pitch yourself to them. Ask them if they'll carry some of your records or all of your records and have a plan. Research their inventory, research what they care about so that when you go in there, you're not just saying, hey, I'm local, carry my records, that you actually have a vision and have a plan. I think they'll respect that. The second thing is to make it easy for them. What does that mean? Send them an email ahead of time. Don't just hop in when they're busy with customers. Send them an email ahead of time with a picture of the album, a picture of the new release and the variants that it comes with. Maybe talk about what your expected wholesale price is. Give them a quick stream of the album. Maybe it's just not the type of music that they think will sell well in their store. And so give them a sample of the record. The other thing you can do to make it easy for them, and not everyone would agree with this, but I know a lot of record stores would appreciate it, is to offer it on consignment at first. And so what consignment means is that you could drop off 2 or 3 copies of the record for free. Essentially, they don't have to pay for them up front and agree upon a wholesale price. So let's say you drop off 2 vinyl records and you say, I need $12. So whatever your retail price is, if it's going to be $24 or $19.99, I just need to get $12 each for these as a record label, whatever that price is for you. And then they'll give you a receipt or make a little note, and you'll make a note as well and keep track of it. And then once they've sold, you come back and say, okay, this is how much money you owe me, as opposed to them buying them up front from you. And so offering them on consignment is a great way for you to take the risk and for not the record store to take the financial risk, but for you to take that risk as a record label. The third thing you can do to make it a little bit easier for them, under this topic of making it easier for them, is to check back often on the stock. Don't assume that they're going to keep an eye on the 2 records that you sent them. But if you've been sending people to go buy the record, maybe hop in a couple days or a week or 2 later and just physically check the stock yourself. I think that's a great way for record labels and independent artists to take a lot of the responsibility and the administration work off of these stores, is to maybe hop in the car and go to the different record stores in your city and check in on the inventory and say, hey, you're low, I brought you some more. They'll really appreciate that. The third and final thing that you can do when trying to get your albums and releases into local record stores is to promote their store. Tell your fans via social media and at shows that your record is in their store. And that if they want to buy it from you, instead of coming to you directly to your house and knocking on the door, to go and support the local record stores. And fans will really like this too, because not everybody will be comfortable ordering from you. They can save on shipping. Not everybody wants to come to your front door or is able to go to a show to get a record. And so for it to be there on a Sunday morning when they're browsing their local record store, that's really convenient. So make sure you tell your fans in your community where they can buy the record locally. And promote their store as often as you can. Promote record stores in general, even if you have nothing to promote, even if you're not necessarily promoting your record at the time, but promote their initiatives and promote things that their local record store cares about, even if it doesn't directly benefit you right now. And the other thing is you can do some really cool things like give them an early window. So this is all under this marketing umbrella, how to promote your records in their store, because they're not necessarily going to promote it. Now they might, if they're kind, they might pop up a social media thing and say, hey, this local record label, their inventory is now in our stores. Come check it out. But that's about it. On a day-to-day basis, it's your responsibility to promote it. You could do things like give them an early window. This is really a sweet thing you can do. If you have your vinyl or your cassettes or CDs in stock a week or two before the release, maybe bring it down there 3 or 4 days before the general public gets it. And you can say to your local fans, if you want a copy of this record, it's there 2 days early. That early window for your local record store could be a really cool thing. And it generates this reciprocity. Now the record store appreciates that you've been sending customers there. So think about that. One bonus tip on this whole subject of respecting our record stores to consider is that you can make an event out of this relationship with the record store. And so you could even do something like, I saw this done with a bigger band, but you could even give them a limited pressing, their own variant color of maybe 50 or 100 copies just for that record store or just for your city. So if you live in a city with 1 million people and there's 5 record stores there, then you could press a color that's pertains to your city color or whatever, some sort of unique color that is limited to your hometown. And that could be, or the hometown of the artist that you're representing. And that's something that could be really cool. Maybe let them do a contest or something like that. And so the overall takeaway here is that indie record labels and indie record stores have a lot in common. We advocate for music, we advocate for the fans, and we act as this bridge between fans and musicians. And so we're very, very similar, record stores and record labels. And so it's important that we work together, and it's important that we're aware of each other's needs and what benefits each other, as well as what alleviates some of the responsibility and some of the stress from each other so that we can work together to help promote the releases. So think about that. Make sure you go back and listen to our previous Industry Insider episode about record stores. I think you'll find that super helpful. You can get that episode by going to otherrecordlabels.com. And if you're an independent artist or an independent record label and you need tools and resources to help you run your label, promote your releases, press vinyl, all that fun stuff, go to otherrecordlabels.com. Thank you so much for being a listener.